an Italian team owner, an Italian manufacturer, and 2 Italian riders. It should be a MotoGP match made in heaven. But is it? Welcome back to the Horsepower Rodeo's midterm report card for the 2025 MotoGP season, and today we're talking about the VR46 team. You guessed it. But before we do jump in, please like, follow, share, subscribe, mash all the buttons so you get all the MotoGP content you can possibly handle, and why not tell your friends that we're here talking MotoGP. All right, well, let's dig in. So the VR46 team of Fabio Di Giannantonio and Frankie Morbidelli. I think a lot of expectations. Again, we're going to talk about this word expectations a lot. When you see my grades for these teams, we're not talking about grading them against each other. It's not a fair fight. That's not how we do it. We grade them versus their expectations. So what were the expectations for VR46? First, on the Digia side, he was given a full factory bike. If you remember just a couple years ago, this guy was almost out of MotoGP, resurrected his career with a win and some podiums at the end of that season, gets the big contract. Gets the good contract. We're not going to say big contract. Gets the good contract with VR46, even though they had said weeks previous, nah, not our kind of guy. We kind of want to bring someone up. And then they kind of said, well, he's a MotoGP winner. I guess we have to see what he has. And Ducati said the same thing, giving him a full factory spec bike. 3 bikes on the grid this year, full factory spec. Marc, Pecco, Digia. The other 3 are on the old version. So what are they expecting out of Digia? They are legit expecting Fabio Di Giannantonio to prove to them that he's worth the factory seat. They want to create a rider controversy. That is why you do this. You do this so people start asking the question, should Fabio Di Giannantonio get one of those factory seats alongside of Marc Marquez or Pecco Bagnaia, or who else is staying, who's going? That's what they expect out of Digia. And to be honest, he hasn't really lived up to that. Yes, his best finish of the year, he has 2 third places, 2 podiums. I believe it was Austin and in Mugello. Amazing rides. But for the rest of the season, it's kind of been mediocre. We saw him tangle with Jorge Martin riding near the back in Qatar. We saw him being nowhere in Brno. The thing about Fabio is that I thought he'd really turned a corner. With the Austin, that was great. His teammate kind of did rough him up in the sprint in Austin, so screwed up his chances there. But in Mugello, he looked fast, he looked aggressive, he takes Pecco Bagnaia's spot on the podium. And I started to worry about Pecco being like, well, if Di Giannantonio was beating him on the same bike, Pecco, you still have to worry about your job, right? Marc beating you, it's Marc Marquez. Alex beating you, you can make the argument, well, the 2024 bike is a more complete package. Should Pecco, is having problems with that bike? Well, everyone's having problems with that bike except for Marc. So you can really kind of give him a pass there. Well, once Fabio Di Giannantonio goes by Pecco, then I do think we have a rider controversy on our hands. You have the factory rider on a full factory spec bike. You have an independent rider on a full factory spec bike. If the independent rider is finishing in front, that's what Digia should want. That's what he should be going for every single week. He should be nipping at the heels of Pecco, making him very nervous about his job. And even with the rough season that Pecco's had, I don't think he's looking over the shoulder to Fabio Di Giannantonio. I just don't think that's true. Now, on the other side of the garage, we have Frankie Morbidelli, who overall I think has had a pretty good season. He has pulled a couple Frankies here and there. Crashing, impeding people in practice like he seems to always do. What were we expecting from Frankie? I was expecting to see a guy working his way back to be a title contender. Was I expecting it this year? No. But I was expecting some stability from Frankie. Seeing a rider that can put in a performance week in and week out and be what they say, there or thereabouts. Because if we remember back just a little bit ago, he was a runner-up in the championship on a very slow Yamaha. This guy can ride. But it is the inconsistencies, these little Frankieisms, the tangle with Aleix Espargaro a couple years ago where he gets whapped upside the head, the penalties in practice that just keep happening. You can't do long lap penalties and expect to compete at the front. And the crashes, and now he has an injury. He's out for the last 2 weeks. He's had a decent season. His best result, he was second at Qatar. He led that race for a bit. But then we see him 15th at Le Mans, sidelined in Germany and Brno, and you just can't be consistently toward the front if you're sitting out, if you're being penalized, if you're doing silly things. And so I think what I want out of Frankie is a more stable season. Is someone you can look and go, oh yeah, top 6 all the time. And if he's not in the top 6, you go, that was weird. He should have been there. But for some reason he wasn't. And I just don't think you can say that about Morbidelli. I actually don't think you can say that about either of these guys right now, that you just expect them to be in the top 6. I think you are surprised when they are. And you're very pleasantly surprised when they're on the podium. They've been on the podium a few times. What is that, 3 podiums so far this season for these two? I think it should be more. I'm just saying, they're on the Ducati. There's 6 Ducatis on the grid. And they've got one of the better packages underneath them. They should be beating these other guys. They're not. We're seeing Yamahas come through and beat them. We're seeing Hondas be competitive with them. We're seeing a Honda underneath Johan Zarco win a race this season before Morbidelli, before Digia. That shouldn't happen. Not if everything is going to plan. So I think both of these guys at the VR46 team are falling just a little bit short of expectations. Now, when you look at their position in the World Championship, they're 5th and 6th, and you have to go, well, I mean, it's an independent team running 5th and 6th, ahead of the likes of Yamaha and KTM and Aprilia and all these places. Okay, it doesn't look that bad on paper, but I think when you kind of look at it race by race and just feeling, I'm going feeling over facts here a little bit, so sue me. I just think the feeling is they're not where they need to be. And I think they've shown flashes of where they need to be. I just think they need to be there more. So as I go to give grades for both Fabio Di Giannantonio and Franco Morbidelli, I don't know if I'm being overly harsh here, but this is just from my gut. I think for Fabio Di Giannantonio, he gets a B- for this year. Now, again, he's on the factory bike. Should he be beating Marc Marquez and Pecco? He should be closer to Marc Marquez and Pecco, per my expectations for him. But he's also getting beat by Alex Marquez on a fairly regular basis. I mean, a super regular, almost always regular basis, unless Alex finds himself in the gravel. And then you look at his teammate is only 3 points back on the last year's machine after missing some time. He missed the last 2 Grand Prix, and you only have 3 points on him. I don't think this season is a failure for Di Giannantonio, but he definitely isn't getting anyone at Factory Ducati to look at him. In fact, the factory folks are going, maybe we should be giving that new bike to Firmin Aldeguer for the future. No, Digia wants to be the future, so he better have a very good second half of the season to prove that, no, I need the latest spec. I should be the next person in that factory seat for 2027. If he starts beating Pecco on a consistent basis, you better believe those conversations are going to start being had, whether Pecco has won the world title twice or not. On the other side of the garage, Frankie Morbidelli gets a C+ from me. Now, the biggest reason is the mental side. I want stability, and just Frankie won't give me the stability I want from him. So if he can just finish more consistently, finish towards the front more consistently, eliminate these weird mistakes and these weird mental lapses in practice that gets him in people's way and ruins other people's qualifying, I think he'd be a lot better off. And again, he is behind his teammate. What's the number 1 rule in motorcycle racing? You have to beat your teammate. And I know, I get it. He's on the older bike than Fabio Di Giannantonio, but we see Alex Marquez on that bike, beating the whole lot of them. And Frankie Morbidelli is not some young, need to prove myself rider. Runner-up in the championship. He's won races. He knows what he's doing. It's time for him to perform. There's no more grace period here. I think his grace period is over. It's time to put up or shut up. And so the grade for the VR46 team overall, I have to give them a B-. Now, when you look at the standings, you might be questioning that because they are 3rd place in the championship as far as the team points go. But it's very important of who they are behind. They're behind Factory Ducati, and they're also behind Gresini. They did not get a factory spec 2025 for Fabio Di Giannantonio to ride to be 3rd. They are expected to be the 2nd best Ducati team. They are expected to be the team that replaced Pramac as the 2nd Ducati team. And if that's your expectations, it's not mine. Don't come looking at me. This is what Ducati is doing. This is the Ducati pipeline. They expect VR46 to be their 2nd team. So you can't finish 3rd. It's just as simple as that. So I think for the team, B- overall, they have to get these guys riding in the top 5 and top 6 more consistently. They have to be beating both Alex Marquez and Firmin Aldeguer more consistently. They got to get the guys to the front. They got to be the 2nd best Ducati team, which probably means as far as expectation goes for the season, they have to be the 2nd best team on the grid, period, in order for them to get that A grade. So right now it's a B-. And there you go. I'm sure a lot of people out there disagree with my assessment, but go ahead, leave a comment, talk to me about it. That's where we're here. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time for the next report card. Who will it be? I wonder.